Hello, everyone, and welcome to Accidentally Profound, the unofficial #1 podcast in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am your host, the always silly, always great, always witty Drew Kennington, and of course, we are recording in the great and beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, you may think that the unofficial #1 podcast in Indianapolis, Indiana is just a silly little thing I say at the beginning of each show. But my fair viewer, I shall let you know that we have now been immortalized in the form of a sticker, and it is now an actual somewhat tagline for this show. If you're watching the video portion of the podcast, I'm holding one up on the screen right now. Yeah, I got my little Canva Etsy bag this week. Made up a little sticker design, sent it in order, and we made it happen. Got 25 of these bad boys hot off the press. So you can buy them down at the link below for $55 a sticker, and shipping is $25. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to sell these. These are mainly just for it's mainly a proof of concept. I just wanted to kind of, get something going, an idea I've had, and I wanted to make something a little concrete, give it to some friends, give it to some family, maybe put them on some places around the city. Allegedly. I'm not going to incriminate myself here. But yeah, so we got that going on. Recording today's episode on a Saturday instead of a Sunday because, as some of you may know, tomorrow is Mother's Day. And I have a little bit of stuff to do. Got to go hang out with my mom. Got to go hang out with the fam, do stuff like that. So getting it in today so that I don't have to worry about it tomorrow. But I will say, almost didn't happen today because I'm feeling a little off, a little weird. Some might say a little sickly. Not gonna call it a flu game. It's not that bad, but I've just been a little gassed, been a little tired this afternoon because it is about 7 o'clock right now. So we're into the late afternoon. So I called in some reinforcements. I'm sipping on I don't know if y'all have heard about these, a Slice Pacific Pop. Not sponsored, by the way. But it's supposed to be a Baja Blast dupe. It's one of them healthy soda johns. And let me tell you, it doesn't really taste like Baja Blast, but it has 54 milligrams of caffeine, and it is low sugar, so it is going to have to power me through this episode of this wonderful podcast. Now, something else that is adding to the recording of the episode a day early, I kind of got not swindled. I joined a pickleball league. Now you may be like, Drew, I thought you were white before, but you're reaching levels of white we were previously thought unfathomable, and my fair viewer, I would have to agree with you. The white levels are off the charts, but I am a white boy, so what do you expect from me? What do you want from me? If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. But no, so, my fiance, Naomi, we talk about her from time to time on this show. She is on her TikTok grind in her TikTok bag, so as a TikToker does, they make content. And we went and played pickleball one day after work. She made a video about it, and this pickleball league reached out to her, and they were like, yo, you want to join a pickleball league? So now, I'm in a pickleball league. And I'll be honest, I didn't really want to join it, if I'm being completely honest. But I had to kind of take a step back and ask myself, and I was like, what's really preventing you from doing something like this? And it was kind of just the fear of doing something new, and I'm trying to take on this new attitude in my life this year, the big 26, where I'm just going to say yes to more things. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's join this league. What's the worst that can happen? I go out there and get diced up by some grannies on the pickleball court? Probably. But you know what? It'll be humbling. At the least, it'll be a humbling experience. And we're always searching for a humbling experience. But no, I just want to say yes to more things, and you never really know what could happen. You can meet some new people, you could make a new friend, and you could broaden your horizons into the world around us, I guess. Sure. But now that we've got the formalities out of the way, I want to start today's show by talking about the WNBA. Yes, every now and again on this show we do cover women's hoops. Kind of haven't the past few episodes, but WNBA started. Season openers. Hey, happened yesterday. Big time for the ladies. New CBA, new faces, new teams. All around good vibes coming from the WNBA atmosphere. And I happen to find myself at the Indiana Fever home opener today. Yes, Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers. A little bit of white girl on white girl crime. And I might say it was a pretty fun experience. I did, though, unfortunately, completely miss both of Caitlin Clark's threes that she hit. You know, because she was out there, she was hucking up them threes, banging them, trying to bang them from deep, but she was missing. And I was like, damn, that sucks. So halftime rolls around. I'm on my phone. I'm playing Clash Royale, as one does. And I get into a game. About a minute left in halftime. I'm like, it'll maybe leak over into the start of the third, but it is what it is. Well, my Clash Royale game happened to go to OT. So like 2 minutes into the third quarter, I'm locked into this Clash Royale game because, you know, what's more important than a game of Clash Royale? Probably not much. As I'm locked into this game, Caitlin Clark bangs a deep three. Crowd goes crazy. I'm like, damn, I missed that one. 30 seconds goes by. Caitlin Clark bangs another deep three. I'm like, damn, I missed that one too. Finally, the game's in. I put my phone down. I don't think Shorty hit another three for the rest of the game. I was like, wow. Disrespect like that, Caitlin Clark. And also on top of that, speaking of Caitlin Clark shooting threes, down three. Fever were. A few seconds left in the game. Caitlin Clark pulls up from deep, wide open, bricks it. So not only did I get to go to the WNBA season opener, I got to watch Caitlin Clark miss a wide open three to potentially tie the game. It was a shame, but it was fun because, like I have mentioned before in the past on this show when we talk about women's hoops, this is a Paige Bueckers household for Naomi. For me, it is a tentative Paige Bueckers household because I am just waiting to see where Juju Watkins ends up, and then I will probably shift my allegiance slightly to that team because I don't know how many of y'all, probably not a lot of y'all, maybe some of y'all, are tapped into women's hoops like that. But I got the honor, the joy of watching Juju Watkins play live and in person for the Big Ten Championship in 2024. 2024, yes. And that's all I needed to see. I was sold. I was like, that girl is the most fun to watch. She plays like a man. And I know that might seem like disrespectful in a way, but like it's honestly a compliment because something that me and Naomi were discussing while we were at this WNBA basketball game is that some of the most entertaining players to watch in the WNBA play like men. They go out there and they remind you of your favorite NBA player. And I feel like those players are the most likely to bring in new fans, bring in a new audience, bring in the NBA fans to appreciate the WNBA game. Because if you've grown up for the past, 10 years, however long Kyrie Irving's been in the league, and you just love the way he plays the game, you love the smoothness, the of Kyrie Irving's game, well, bro, let me introduce you to Paige Bueckers. Bro, I'm at this game. I'm not even kidding. I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying there was probably 3 or 4 times where it was like a mouth open, genuinely, mouth open experience, just looking around like, did everybody else just see Paige Bueckers do that? Because some of the moves that she was pulling off were insane. And it's so wild to see women doing that. Because, like, it's not like I'm not like one of those dudes that just like in the past 2 years has discovered women's hoops. And it's like, oh my God, they're so cool. No, like I've known about women's hoops. I've watched women's hoops in the past. I went to an Indiana Fever game this season before they got Caitlin Clark, like before the whole WNBA explosion that has happened recently. And I remember being at that game. It was like being at a high school basketball game. But like less people than that. There was like maybe 500 people at this game. It was Indiana Fever versus the Seattle Storm, and they were both the worst team in the league. You can't both be the worst team in the league. They were the worst and the second worst team in the league, and it was like the end of the season, so it was absolutely meaningless basketball. And it was hard to watch. It was very, very tough to watch. To see that atmosphere, that is what the WNBA was fucking, 4 years ago, to what it is now. The atmosphere at this Fever home opener was so electric. You would have thought we were at an Indiana Pacers playoff game. Like, I went to Pacers games this year. Granted, not a great example because the Pacers low-key suck. But Sunday, we'll talk about that. There was Pacers games that I was at where the atmosphere was worse than what this Indiana Fever game I was at today, bro. It was like a sellout crowd. The crowd was super into it. They were screaming. They were getting loud. There was one possession where I don't remember exactly what happened, but uh, Fever scored. They got a stop on defense, and they came down and they scored again. And the girl that scored was like a second-year player. It was Michaela Timpson that the fans really like. And, bro, it exploded. It exploded in there. And I feel like that is, in essence, the Caitlin Clark effect. But I guess what I was kind of getting at, and I kind of got off the rails there, Caitlin Clark, I feel like, has brought the eyes and has brought the attention. But what is going to make people stay, what is going to make people keep coming back and keep watching games is players like Paige Beckers, is players like Juju Watkins. These players that when you watch them, they remind you of your favorite NBA player, because then you have something that you can pay attention to. You have someone that you can watch. You have someone that you're like, okay, I kind of want to see what she's going to do here, and can keep you entertained. And when you watch that player, you then start to get a better understanding of the atmosphere that is the WNBA, which, like I said, coming into it, I didn't really know too much, but over the past couple of years, being with Naomi, who is a pretty avid WNBA fan, I've learned so much about the league as a whole, and it really is this really cool, it's this very unique experience. Going to a WNBA game, watching a WNBA game, it's not like they're trying to be the NBA. They're trying to be their own thing. They're trying to be their own identity. And it's really cool to see it kind of blossom and see it kind of how it's evolved over the past few years. And I will say, last time I talked WNBA hoops on here, I posted a clip about it on YouTube, and some guy called me a male pick-me. So I don't know what that's to do with anything. I just wanted to throw that in there. But no, seriously, shout out these ladies. Shout out the WNBA. I think it's going to be a very exciting season. I feel like it's a lot of talent, a lot of new talent coming in, especially over the next few years. More and more talent is just going to keep coming into the league, and you're going to see more and more players who are just nice as fuck. So shout out Caitlin Clark, shout out Paige Becker, shout out Angel Reese, shout out Juju Watkins. This is a Juju Watkins podcast, all right? And whatever team she goes to will be my allegiance. You know, I really shouldn't have brought up that that thing about me on YouTube, because now I just completely derailed this WNBA segment. I was kind of going hot there. I was rolling, but we kind of skidded off the rails there. But I do want to also, while we're on the topic of hoops, there was I'll have to pull it up here, another NBA overrated, like, anonymous player survey dropped. And, you know, I kind of wonder why. I don't wonder why they do this, but, like, that's just so messy, bro. Like, whose idea is it that they're just like, obviously last year they did it and the whole Tyrese Halliburton thing happened, but they're just like, you know what, we're going to do it again. We're going to be messy. We're going to ask players who they think is the most overrated. Well, this year, the results are in. And Alfred Sengun is the winner of the most overrated player voted by his peers. And can I say, I think we nailed it with this one. I think we nailed it. I think Alfred Sengun is the perfect example of an overrated player. And you may be like, Drew, he's like not, you may be trying to try to defend him or whatever. And my argument for Alfred Sengun being Mr. Overrated is just watch that boy play basketball. Watch that man run up and down the court and tell me that I don't know what it is. He doesn't pass the eye test. He passed the statistics test. Because, like, bro, he averages, like, what? Hold up. We're pulling up Alfred Sengun stats. I don't even know how to spell his name. Because he, like, low-key is, like, damn near like a baby Jokic in a way. Because what did he average? He averaged 20, 6, and 9. Damn, that's pretty good. Those are pretty good numbers, low-key. But when you watch Alfred Sengun play, It's like watching an uncoordinated, kind of chubby kid run up and down the court, and he's kind of flailing his body around. He just doesn't look very put together, doesn't look very well rounded out there. And honestly, yeah, I think they did good. A couple other names on this list. There was a few that I found kind of interesting. Like Tyrese Halliburton made the list. Bro, he didn't even play this year. Tyrese Halliburton didn't even play a single game of basketball this year. How is he overrated? Who voted for him? You know who I bet it was? Miles Turner. Miles Turner, guaranteed. And probably like who else would hate Tyrese Halliburton? Probably somebody on the Knicks. I don't think it'd be Jalen Brunson. I think they're actually friends. But who's like low key, like kind of? It was Isaiah Hartenstein. It was Isaiah Hartenstein. It was Tyrese Halliburton or Miles Turner, Max Strus, Ty Jerome. No, it's probably Ty Jerome. Whatever, like one player from each team that he hit a shot on in the playoffs probably was still butthurt about it and was like, yo, fuck this dude, we're voting for him. So I thought that was crazy that he was on the list. Pascal Siakam made the list as well, with more votes than Tyrese Halliburton, to be honest. I don't know why I said to be honest there, but I guess to be honest, I feel like Pascal Siakam being on this list kind of makes sense. And I only say that because he did get an all-star nod and his team won like what, 20 games. So it's kind of like you're an all-star, you're a top 20 player in the league, but you couldn't win more than, 25 games. I think you're a little overrated. I don't agree. I don't agree with that sentiment at all, but I can kind of wrap my head around the thought process of how someone would come to that conclusion. The top five, it's Şengün, Rudy Gobert, which honestly, I feel like Rudy Gobert is underrated. I feel like he's a little underrated because I feel like people don't really talk that well about him. I guess you could say in the sense that he's always in that conversation of Defensive Player of the Year, and he's always kind of in that conversation of like people like respecting him, but then his numbers, they kind of suck. Like, let's pull up some Rudy Gobert stats. Well, we got Rudy Gob. He's still playing basketball too. Yeah, the damn. 10 points, 11 rebounds. I mean, 1.6 blocks. But like, okay, you know what? I kind of get it because he's kind of put into that upper echelon of NBA centers. And he averages 10 and 10. But like, I guess he's one of those dudes that it's the basketball nerds sort of cream over because he has like the things that don't show up in the stat sheet. I think someone described him as a defensive coordinator on the court. So maybe that's what I'm missing. Maybe I don't watch ball intently enough. I'm more of a that boy nice watcher, less of a like advanced analytics, nose to the fucking notepad, watching the stats type of guy. So maybe I'm missing something. But do I think he's overrated? No, I think he's pretty well rated. Trae Young, again, I don't think Trae Young's overrated. I feel like the conversations we have about Trae Young have drastically dropped off the past couple years. I mean, bro literally got traded for, at the time, what we thought was a bag of chips. The team that he was the franchise player for sent him to Washington, sent him to fucking Siberia for a bag of chips. Granted, that bag of chips won them 2 playoff games, but still, how can you be overrated if the team that you played for gave up on you this season? I feel like if anything, you're not rated at all. You need to go prove yourself again. So I guess the players that think he's overrated must really think that he's trash. Number 4 is Karl Anthony Towns. See, man, I don't know. Am I just going to go down this list and make a case for every single player? I think Karl Anthony Towns is kind of nice. I watched a lot of his games last year playing the Pacers, and he torched us a few times. He's kind of nice. Paolo Banchero makes sense. He's number 5. Paolo Banchero. The Orlando Magic have a Paolo Banchero problem because you use the number 1 overall pick on him. He passes the eye test. You look at Paolo Banchero and you're like, this dude is an NBA player. This dude is a hooper. When I was sitting courtside at NBA All-Star in Indianapolis, yes, that is a flex. Please remember that. I saw him in person. a ball bounced to me. It went out of bounds. I'm sitting courtside. Did I mention I was sitting courtside? Ball bounces to me. Paolo Banchero walks up to me to get the ball. I throw him a pass. I threw Paolo Banchero a pass. And that dude was probably 6 feet from me. And he's a 6'9" dude with legs the size of tree trunks. That's a lot of man there. Pause. But like, he passes this eye test of like, this guy is built like LeBron James. He has the LeBron James build. When you look at him, you're like, that dude is a terrorizer on the NBA court. But just something about it just is not working. His offensive game is just not there. And I think he is overrated because people view him as the franchise player in Orlando. But if that playoff series against Detroit was any type of signifier, it is Franz Wagner's team. The Orlando Magic belongs to Franz Wagner. So now the Orlando Magic are in an awkward position to where can you do a Boston situation where they got JT and Jaylen Brown, which then again, they might be in the same situation where it's like you kind of have to commit to one. Because, yeah, I mean, technically you could afford to pay both of them like 45, 50 million a year. But, like, what would you rather have? Would you rather have two guys that you're paying a bunch of money to that kind of have to try to do this 1-2 balancing act? Or have one guy who's your clear-cut number one that you can run your offense through and then use that other $50 million to get 3 super solid role players to surround that guy with? And now all of a sudden you have a championship contending basketball team. I mean, look at the Denver Nuggets. Again, okay, maybe not the best example because they got bounced in the first round, but they won a championship by basically surrounding Nikola Jokic with a bunch of really, really good role players. Jamal Murray, I wouldn't say he's a role player, but like solid. MPJ, Aaron Gordon, Christian Braun, Bruce Brown, like they had some super, super solid role players on that team, and then they just designed the offense around Nikola Jokic, and it worked. The Indiana Pacers. I mean, yeah, technically they have Pascal Siakam, who's an all-star caliber player, back-to-back all-stars. But it really is just Tyrese Halliburton and a bunch of dudes who know their role, who play their role. Some of the best role players in the NBA, and it works. And the teams, as we've seen time after time, the teams that go all in and try to build this big three, try to just get 3 all-stars, 3 superstars, and just say, fuck it with the rest of the lineup. We'll get some vet minimum guys in here. It never seems to work. So I think the Orlando Magic have to make a decision this offseason. And I think it's Paolo Banchero whose head has to roll. So then that asks the question. I actually did think about this earlier this week. If you're the Orlando Magic, who do you trade Paolo Banchero for? And I guess the first question we need to answer is, have they paid Paolo Banchero yet? What's my boy Paolo Banchero bringing in yearly? Let's pocket watch for a quick second. He's only 23. So maybe he hasn't been paid yet. So we're going to pull it up here. See, I like looking stuff up on this show, but it always ends up with me. Oh, he hasn't paid. I was going to say it always ends up with me just like kind of having like dead air. And, so this is actually pretty bad news for the Orlando Magic. I'm looking at Paolo Banchero's spot rack right now. And it looks like it doesn't say when he signed it. But he did sign an extension. He signed a $50-ish million a year extension for the next 5 years. And guess what? It doesn't kick in till next year. Yikes. Yikes. And I'm pretty sure they paid Franz already too. Let's look that up. A little more dead air for you with me typing in some stuff. Hurry. Damn, they paid him too. And let me guess. Okay, now his already kicked in this year, but bro, so they got 2 dudes making over $40 million a year. And Desmond Bane's getting paid. How are the Orlando Magic affording this? I think you got to trade Paolo Banchero. I think you got to get rid of Paolo Banchero, get him off the team. And you know what my thought was? I was thinking about this in the shower earlier this week. If I'm the Orlando Magic, I'm not sure how to make the money work, but I think they need to trade Paolo Banchero to the Washington Wizards for Trae Young and potentially Anthony Davis. Now, I could pull up the trade machine and we could see if the money works, but I've already done enough dead air done enough searching on this segment, so we're not going to do that. But I do think that if you were able to get a true scoring-minded, facilitating point guard in Orlando, and you keep Franz Wagner healthy, you give him the keys to the team, I think the Orlando Magic are going to be filthy. They have a really good basketball team. I mean, I think Jalen Suggs is one of, if not the best role players in the NBA. He's just great. I love watching Jalen Suggs play basketball. He's a menace on defense, and he can shoot the fucking ball when he wants. Sometimes he can't, but he's really solid. You got him. You got Anthony Black, who took a really big leap this season. You got Wendell Carter Jr., who's coming into his own. Former Indiana Pacer Goga Bitadze, who I kind of wish we kept, but whatever. Franz Wagner, Mo Wagner, Desmond Bane. You know what I mean? Like, and you got Tristan Da Silva. Like, you got some dudes on that team. And I think they just really need a guy who can go out there and give them 25 a night. Wait a minute. Hold on. What? No. I was going to say, what if they went out and got Benedict Mathurin? Because it seems like the relationship in LA is not quite all sunshine and rainbows. I mean, they didn't extend the guy. He's going to be a restricted free agent this offseason. I was going to say, what if they went and got Benedict Mathurin? But I feel like he's like the opposite of Paolo Banchero. Like, Paolo Banchero's problem is bro's got no offensive bag, but he's pretty good on defense. And, sometimes. And then Benedict Mathurin's problem is he's, like, really good on offense sometimes and, like, not the greatest on defense. So you kind of just, well, maybe that's what they need. Who knows? We'll see. I think the Magic are going to be a contender this offseason to kind of ruffle some feathers and change some things up. I mean, they already fired the coach. I think you mix that lineup a little bit, bring in a new culture, bring in a new era of Magic basketball, and maybe they can actually live up to their potential. Maybe they can actually be a team that we thought they were going to be and make a run in what is a depleted Eastern Conference. Which, speaking on a depleted Eastern Conference, it kind of pisses me off that the New York Knicks are one game away from making the Eastern Conference Finals. And obviously, it'll piss you off whenever you see your ops succeed. But I think what really just frustrates me about it is that they're going to talk so much shit. They're going to be so annoying about it. And they're going to be yip-yapping like, oh, back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. And then God forbid they make an NBA Finals appearance. Like, oh, New York on top. We run the league. And it's like, you guys, the only reason you have any chance of making any type of playoff run is because the NBA, the only reason you guys have any chance of making a deep playoff run this year is because the Indiana Pacers are not in the playoffs. The Indiana Pacers have owned you the past 2 seasons, and they will continue to own you for the foreseeable future. So honestly, take the opportunity now, because this is your only shot. This is your only year. After this, your chances are done. You're cooked. This is your last chance to make an NBA Finals appearance. And granted, even if you do make an NBA Finals appearance, this is a message to any NBA team in the East. If any of you guys make it to the NBA Finals, good fucking luck, because you're just going to be food for the Spurs or the Thunder. They're going to bend you over and spank the shit out of you. Whoever comes out of the West is I'm calling it now. I don't care. I don't care who is in the Finals. I do not care if it's the Spurs, if it's the Thunder. I don't care if it's the Lakers or the Timberwolves. Whoever comes out of the West is beating any team that comes out of the East in 5 games. Guaranteed. There is no one in the East that can hang with anybody in the West. That's true. That's just how I feel. And I feel like that's not even a crazy thing to say, because we're going to watch it happen live, and you're going to be like, damn, Drew, you told us so. We should have listened to you. And I'd be like, thank you, guys. I know I am a basketball genius. But I guess while we're still on the NBA topic, and while we're, recording this episode a day early, there's a very big thing happening tomorrow. The NBA Draft Lottery. And that is very big for me and my family, mainly just Naomi, but because we are Indiana Pacers fans. Die-hard Indiana Pacers fans. And if you're not aware, if you've been living under a rock, which apparently some people are, because when I was at work earlier this week, I brought up Tyrese Halliburton, and one of the dudes I work with looked at me, swear to God, he goes, who's that? And he was dead ass. He was genuine. I was like, what do you mean? He was, I have no idea. I don't really keep up with sports. I was like, how do you... Anyway, Pacers have the best, tied for the best odds with two other teams to get the number one overall pick in the NBA draft this offseason. And let me tell you, if the Indiana Pacers get the number one overall pick with an already stacked roster, even if we don't get the pick, if it somehow falls to 5 and it does not convey and we lose our pick, it goes to the Clippers, I still think we're a top five team in the East. Easy. But if that pick conveys and we get a top 3 pick, we don't even need the 1. It's just got to be top 3. Good luck the rest of the NBA. The league is in trouble. The Indiana Pacers are a perennial playoff, not even playoff, finals contender. The Indiana Pacers are going to be a perennial finals contender if they are able to get their hands on a top 3 pick. You'd put Cam Boozer, AJ Abanza, really don't want him, but maybe Darren Peterson on this Indiana Pacers team, it's over. It is complete wraps. You guys do not understand how good Tyrese Halliburton is at raising a player's floor. He made Miles Turner look like a $27 million man. He made Miles Turner look so good that the Bucks were like, we'll give you $27 million for the next 4 years. And you know, that was because of Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton did that. He made fucking Miles Turner. I'm not going to keep going on that. But he raises the floor of everyone around him. Obi Toppin, kind of dead in the water when he was in New York. Out of the rotation. Never played. We get him for 2 second-round picks. Comes to Indy. He's looking like one of the best backup power forwards in the NBA. Granted, he's a defensive liability, but he's nice. He got a 3. He got a jumper. He's nice. He can roll. He can get to the bucket. He's filthy. Aaron Nesmith. Granted, I think he's just taking a leap, but he's making these dudes look so good. He makes Pascal Siakam's job so easy that all Pascal Siakam has to do when Tyrese Halliburton is on the court is just chill in the post, get a mismatch, and hit the post move, easy fade. You pair that with a young fucking freak athlete like AJ Abanza or Cam Boozer, and I'm telling you, the next 4 years belong to the Indiana Pacers. I don't care if you're the OKC Thunder and you have, they have so much chemistry off the court, bro. They just hang out and they just mesh so well. They're so cool. Man, they go to Shay's house and hang out. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if you got a 7'4" freak athlete. Hey, Victor Wembanyama, let me introduce you to Ivica Zubac. Yeah, I learned how to say his name. And then, while you're fucking learning, I don't know what country he's from, where Zubac is from. While you're learning his country, AJ Abanza is putting his balls on Devin Vassell's forehead, and you don't even know what happened. Tyrese Halliburton just hit a no-look pass. You're looking left, ball's gone right, in the air, windmill dunk on your head. Guys, I'm telling you, the league is in trouble. So, big day tomorrow. If we get a top 3 pick, I did want to do the episode after the draft lottery so I could come on here and talk all my shit, but probably won't happen. I also wanted to record a reaction. I think I'm going to be at my grandma's house while the draft lottery is going down around my family, and I'm already not comfortable recording myself on my phone when I'm alone, so I sure as shit am not going to be comfortable doing it when I'm around a bunch of other people. So maybe I'll do a little video reacting to it. Maybe we shall see. But yeah, that's gonna be a pretty big deal tomorrow afternoon. So we're gonna switch the vibe up here a little bit and get a little more introspective. We've spent the first portion of this show talking about some hoops. Let's get a little more thought-provoking here. And the thing I want to talk about today is your energy and how the vibe you bring to an occasion can really influence how it goes, and it can influence other people. Because I was in a situation this week where I was around someone for a long period of time, and they just kind of had a negative negative vibe about them. They had a bad attitude. Their energy was pretty low. And I'm usually a pretty, I don't know, pretty high energy guy, I guess. I usually like to bring the vibes. I like to be, I wouldn't say I'm like happy go lucky, like one of those people that's like, I've never frowned. I'm always happy. I'm always smiley. I don't, no, that's lame. But I always just try to keep a good attitude. Try to, even when I'm down in the dumps, I try to, kind of keep my perspective in line so, I'm not bringing in some negative vibes to the function. But I realized when I was around this person for a long period of time, I realized that the energy this person was giving off was starting to kind of infect me in a way that my own thoughts started to become negative. My own vibe started to be down because I was just around this negative energy. I was in this negative energy space. And I feel like this idea that like your energy and your attitude can rub off on others, it's not like some profound idea that I just came up with and that I'm like, did you guys know this? No, it's not like that. But it is something that you don't really realize just how much it can affect the situation, just how much it can affect a group of people. Like one person with a negative attitude, with bad energy, can completely like shift an entire room. And I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you're kind of in a big group of people, or you're hanging out with friends, and then someone comes in and someone enters the conversation, whatever it is, and you can just feel the energy shift. You can feel the vibe go from like high and great and happy to just kind of like anxious and uncertain. And I feel like that's something that we don't necessarily realize how much it can affect ourselves, and it can affect other people. Because the way you so it just I guess what I'm trying to say here is it made me realize that it's very important to kind of check where your head's at, and kind of every now and again just kind of like take a little bit of a mental step back and kind of ask yourself like, okay, am I bringing a positive vibe to this experience? Am I helping cultivate a good atmosphere, a good energy, or am I, kind of causing a bit of a rift? Because it's very difficult when you are the problem, you are the negative vibe. It's hard to kind of take a step back and be like, oh, fuck, I'm the one that's the problem here. I'm the reason this room is a little bit weird. I'm the reason there's a bit of an anxiety going on in this situation right now. So I guess just, maybe every now and again, maybe take a mental check, maybe just be like, hey, how we feeling here? And try not to be so negative all the time. Like, I understand in certain situations it is a little difficult to be positive. Like, you could find yourself in a bit of a tough spot, a bit of a tough situation. Maybe a situation that you really don't want to be in, and you're just like, man, fuck this, man. I hate this job. I hate this. Blah, blah. I don't want to be here. I'd rather be doing X, Y, Z. But it's in those moments that you need to realize that that's the most important time to be able to put all the bullshit aside and have a positive outlook and have a positive attitude. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. If you just allow negative situations to affect your mood so heavily that you're now fucking broadcasting it onto everyone else around you, you're going to take that with you throughout all of your life. It's not just like, I feel like a lot of people think like, oh man, I only get like really shitty and like really bad situations. Like, man, when this happens, I just get so frustrated. Yes, but what you're not realizing is that in those situations that you allow your emotional state to get altered in the sense where now you are affecting the emotional state of others, you're going to carry that with you throughout your entire life. You're going to carry that with you into other situations. So what you need to try to focus on, what you need to try to align yourself with, is even in the difficult situations, try to find at least a sense of peace. Try to find at least a level head, at least a common ground to where, maybe you're not broadcasting out. I don't want to keep saying broadcasting, but I can't think of the proper word I'm looking for. You're not spewing out positive energy all the time. You don't have to always be some bubbly, positive person. You don't always need to be bringing the good vibes and be Mr. Hee hee ha ha all the time. But at least develop a practice to where you can keep your mind at a somewhat neutral state, so you're not necessarily affecting the energy around you. If you're feeling joyous, allow that to emanate out of you. Allow that to spew out from within you. But then if you're feeling negative, take those thoughts, take those vibes, and fucking work really hard mentally to get to a neutral state, so then you're just kind of not affecting what is going on around you. It really sucks because I wanted to go further and deeper onto that, but I could not think of the word that I was trying to say. So every time I would get to a point where I was like, ooh, I'm about to say some juice here, I would just sputter out because I couldn't figure out the fucking word. And I still can't think of whatever word it is I'm trying to come up with. That's, I guess, the problem of having such a vast vocabulary. Like a guy like me, they call me Mr. Big Vocab. No one calls me that. But yeah, so sometimes, you try to find that big word and you can't, so you have to use other words to fill it, and it makes you a little scatterbrained. All right, let's transition off of that. Let's get into some weekly observations here. First weekly observation. I'm really getting into this whole racing thing, guys. I know last couple episodes we've briefly touched on how I've been getting into NASCAR, but I'm telling you, the reach is expanding further than NASCAR. And it was mainly just the Cup Series at first. The Cup Series is, if you're not familiar with NASCAR, that's the upper echelon. That's the highest level. Man, I'd be watching NASCAR Truck Series. I literally, before I taped this, I watched the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, which is the lower level NASCAR race. It's the G League of the NASCAR. I watched the O'Reilly fucking auto parts race, and I was glued to my screen. I watched probably the whole race. Shout out Connor Zilisch, an insane finish. If you're kind of into racing and you want to see a crazy finish, just look up the O'Reilly Auto Parts last 10 laps from Watkins Glen this week. And let me tell you, some grade A racing. I'm on my lunch break, bro. I'm watching sim racing YouTuber videos. I'm watching videos about famous races around the world, and I'm really getting into this shit, man. Let me tell you, bro, if I had the cheese, I would buy an eSim racing simulator. I'd be on that bitch. I'd be in that thing whipping it. But they're the good ones are thousands of dollars. And frankly, I don't have the beans or the potatoes to be spending money on something like that. But something potentially cool that might have popped up on the radar for the kid. Need to get some confirmation, but I may be going to my first Indianapolis 500 this year. I had a tentative invite from one of my coworkers. He was a little loose off the brewskis, so I'm not sure how serious he was with the offer. Gonna have to go up to him and be like, yo, you serious about this? But I might finally be able to go to an Indianapolis 500 race. Boy, 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 that will be an experience. Because as someone who's lived in Indiana my whole life, never been. And it's kind of wild that I live 15 minutes from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I have never once been to an Indianapolis 500. The biggest fucking race in the world that happens every year, 15 minutes from my house. And I've never been. And it's not even I'm broke. It's not even I can't afford to buy a ticket. It's I just never went. So hopefully this year that will happen. And then I can record a really sick day after podcast, record on the Monday after and kind of tell my story of my first Indianapolis 500. So that'll be sick. That'll be awesome. We shall see what happens there. Next thing we should, I don't know if we should, but we're going to get into what is going on with this whole hantavirus situation. So it started out as I don't know how many, some old people died on a cruise ship in the Caribbean with this hantavirus. And now all of a sudden you got people freaking out about it and talking about some it's going to be COVID 2.0. We're going to shut down the economy, this, that, and the third. What's going on? And why is it that some people are like fantasizing about a COVID shutdown? Is that have we been like is there lasting effects from the first COVID shut like not I guess the first, but the first pandemic we went through? Is there lasting effects of that? Like I feel like we don't really talk about that enough. I mean, maybe we do. Maybe I'm just not in those circles, but like some people were just basically locked in their crib for 6 months. 6 months, just locked in your crib doing nothing. I feel like that has to have some sort of lasting effect on people. And maybe it has in the sense of like it's made us a little more lazy, it's made us a little more a little less outgoing. It's made us more susceptible to I don't know, buying into potential propaganda that we're going to have another uh, pandemic outbreak and then we're going to be locked in our houses again and we're getting low key excited about it. What is going on? Because I feel like there's no way like is this like actually a thing? Is this like hold on, let me just look up. I'm just gonna Google hantavirus. Bro, it's the first thing that popped up. I typed in HN and hantavirus. I mean fucking Hannah Montana could have popped up, but no. Let's just click on news. Okay, it seems like maybe they're disembarking the passengers on the ship on Sunday. So tomorrow, damn. Tomorrow they're disembarking the cruise ship that all these people are on. And it says the CDC says threat of widespread outbreak of hantavirus remains low. And that's kind of how I feel. I feel like every now and again there's this like some sort of news story that gets picked up and people keep talking about it. People kind of run with it and they gas it up more than it really needs to be and it becomes a bigger deal than it really needs to be. Like I remember whenever there was those like whenever we got out of the whole COVID lockdown shit and there was like the whole second strain like what was that for? I think it was it Delta? Like Delta the Delta strain was like the first one and there was like Omicron and there was maybe one more, but there was like those second strains of COVID that would break out, and people would be freaking the fuck out online, being like, ah, ah, and then like nothing would come of it. I do remember though, I was at the gym when all that like Delta, the second, the whatever the second strain was, like after the whole first strain shit went down, and I remember I was at the gym and there was like lines of people, not lines, but there was a like a big fucking group of people just waiting to wash their hands at the sink in the bathroom, which is just so funny because like you never see anyone at the sink washing their hands, but there was like hella people waiting to wash their hands because they were like low key tweaked out about it. So, and you know what the crazy part is there's still people online that are tweaked out about COVID. I think it was like maybe 3 months ago. I stumbled upon a page on COVID, on Instagram, and it was this guy just screaming into his phone about like long COVID and having to mask up and like all this shit. And it's so crazy because there's still people out here that are like fear mongering the masses into believing that this is a massive threat to the fate of humanity. And it's kind of like at this point, even if there is a risk associated with potentially getting long COVID or potentially getting COVID again, at what point does that risk outweigh the risk of socially isolating yourself for 5 fucking years? You know, I'm like, oh man, like, okay, I developed a heart murmur or something from COVID, which maybe sucks, but like, the alternative is to lock myself in my house and not socialize for 6 years. Respectfully, if it's option A is go on about normal life, maybe get taken out, or option B is sit in my house all day and remain safe, I'm taking option A. I'd rather go out and live my life and maybe potentially get whacked than just sit in my fucking house all day and be like, well, at least I'm safe. That's some fucking hippie. That's not some hippie shit. That's some nerd shit, man. That's some loser shit. I'm not doing that. I got a life to live. Socializing is a big part of human nature. If you isolate yourself too much, you're going to go crazy. So, if I'm going to get whacked, if I'm going to get taken out, then so be it. I guess while we're on the topic of potential propaganda, um, there's a video apparently of an Iranian general saying that he hacked into the FBI's mainframe and he knows that the government tried to kill Charlie Kirk. Did I get lied to? Spread information. Oh, this was September 20. Damn, I got lied to. Did they? Wait. This was in April. Top government official claims Iran is responsible for Charlie. Wait. Okay. Sorry for that terrible segment. See, this is the problem. I believed something that I saw on social media um, that was just not true at all. U.S. government. Now I need to keep looking because there's no way. Bro. Damn, I got fake news. Damn. So I watched a video today of a stand-up comedian. Granted, probably not the best person to be getting your news from. Talking about how there was a video of an Iranian general who basically said that he hacked into the FBI's database and found information that the U.S. government conspired to kill Charlie Kirk. They used the lav mic to blow up into his chest, and basically it was all a cover-up by the U.S. government. So I saw that video, and I was going to come on here and do a whole segment about like, oh, are we getting propagandized by Iran? Is this like a propaganda war going on in with this whole conflict, or is there some truth to it? So before I paused for a brief second to kind of get some information on it to get into the segment. Nothing on that story exists except for the video of that stand-up comedian talking about it. So, putting my hand up here, I believed everything I saw on the internet for a second. I did zero background research on this. I did zero vetting of this guy was saying. I just took it for face value. It's like, damn, that's crazy. I'm going to talk about it on my podcast. Damn. So stay safe out there, kids. I think I'm pretty well versed on internet safety, and I just got #got. So yeah, check on your grandma, bro. She might be getting lied to. All right, well I think that's where I'm gonna wrap things up with today's episode. I want to thank you guys very, very much for listening to my little podcast here. I appreciate you guys so much for tapping in as always. Well, I guess before we get out of here, there is a potential idea that has sprung within me. I didn't really want to talk about this during the episode because I don't know. I feel like I talk too much about the short form aspect of this podcast journey on this show, so I didn't want to have the bulk. Have a segment about me talking about it being the bulk of what I want to be the more content-driven, I guess, side of this show. So I'm going to save it here for the end. So if you want to listen to me yap about it for, 5-ish minutes, be my guest. But if not, then I guess this is the end for you, and I will catch you next week. But I go back and forth a lot with this whole short-form content game and how I kind of want to run my social medias. And I've mentioned in the past here how I want to post more content besides podcast clips to kind of, grow my social media audience and grow my, reach on these, like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. But I don't want to be an influencer. Like I don't want to start posting like influencer type content and then lead people to believe like that's what they can expect out of me, because the entire goal of any type of social media following is to drive engagement and to drive viewership to my podcast. So I've been wrestling with like how I want to go about that. And I think I might potentially have a little bit of an idea. I I feel like, hold on. I want to be able to post things on short form that are more catered to a short form audience, but also kind of give people an idea of what it is they'll be experiencing when they come to my pages. So I've had this idea for a mini kind of show slash series that I can do on my short for or my social media pages called Thoughts from the Driver's Seat, where it's basically just me sitting in my car doing like a quick hit minute about something. You know what I mean? Something maybe like introspective, something maybe funny, just like something like more like me, just like kind of me in my car, and I'm like giving like just juice for a minute, and then posting that on socials, because I myself I watch a lot of content like that, and I find a lot of enjoyment out of content like that, and I do. I mean, that's kind of literally what I do here, except I do this for an hour, and it's a more like continuous, like fully put together show. Whereas the people I see on social media who do it, they're more just like kind of like, quick hits. And I just feel like when people are scrolling through Instagram or TikToks, when you see a guy, like when you see a dude with a microphone and a headset on, I feel like a lot of people just kind of immediately scroll away. Like they're immediately like, no, I don't want anything to do with that, because, podcasting kind of gets a bad rep for whatever reason. But if I say the exact same shit, I just take the headphones off, remove the microphone, and it's just me sitting in my car, I feel like people will be a lot more susceptible to consuming it in a short form setting. So I think I want to start doing little segments like that. I may even just take shit I talk about on this show and just kind of like spin it a little bit and shorten it, condense it, and then just do a clip of it for that. Like like of me in my car talking. Because I feel like that'll be a better way for me to not only kind of stay true to what it is that I'm trying to do here, while also catering more towards a short form audience, I think. So I guess keep an eye out for that if you are on the socials. I'm not sure when that'll pop up or if it will see the light of day, but it is something that I've been cooking up in the noggin. I guess another thing, I want to change this setup as well, but that costs money, and I guess I'm not really in a position to invest a lot of money into something that frankly doesn't make me any money. But maybe keep an eye out for that too. There might be a new setup coming soon. Probably not, because I don't have any idea what I do. But it sucks because I do think about how this show is viewed from, a TikTok perspective, an Instagram Reels perspective. And I feel like this setup isn't the most, doesn't like grab your attention the most. So I want to kind of get something that's more, I don't know, attention grabbing, I guess. It's not really the word I'm looking for, but something more along those lines. So that's something we'll also kind of be in the works about. But I do think this is actually now the official end of the show. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all coming in once again and listening to the show. It really, really does. I say it every time, but I truly mean it. It means so much to me if you guys actually listen to this part, this deep into the show. I really appreciate that. And yeah, it just really means a lot. So please don't forget to follow the social medias at Accidentally Profound on Instagram, at Accidentally Profound Pod on TikTok. They'll be linked down in the description below wherever you are listening. So go click, go say what's up, go follow, go interact with the reels. I also discovered this week I'm on iHeart Podcast or iHeart Radio Podcast. I didn't upload them there, but I was on my phone and I discovered that we are there. So if you are listening on there, shout out. You're cool. I don't, like I said, I same with Apple Podcasts. I don't know how to check what goes on over there, but if you are there, thank you for listening. I appreciate that a lot. But if you are on Spotify, do not forget to rate 5 stars. Maybe drop a little comment underneath this video to help out the algorithm. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the kid. Drop a comment for the algorithm. Like the video. Maybe turn the bell on. You know what I'm saying? Maybe figure out, get a little notification when we upload the show. But that is all that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening. And I will catch you guys next week.